Good morning and happy Monday. How's everybody doing? So let's start out with a Bolt update. So Bolt has been home for 3 weeks. He still has not been home for as long as he was gone. That's hard to believe, but he was gone for a month and he's only been home for 3 weeks. We initially had his kennel down in the basement in a back room where it was nice and quiet and cool and dark. That was kind of the recommendation from all of the dog people, was just to let him decompress for a while. So we did that for a couple of weeks. We would gradually take him out of the kennel. When he walked the same pattern. We started out sitting him on the couch downstairs. We gradually took him upstairs. So now the kennel is moved upstairs. So he's with everybody else. He's with the other dog, Marley, and it's also where the cat gets fed. So there's more of the pack that he's in, and you can tell that he really likes that. He likes having the other animals around, and he's starting to come out, and he's starting to, but when he comes out, he's right with us at all times. If we sit down, he's right with us, and when there's a break, he wants to get back to that kennel because that's his safe place. So I love the lessons that you can learn from watching this little guy go through this experience. If you listen to any motivational speaker, and it doesn't matter who it is, you guys all know that I'm a big fan of Tony Robbins, and that's the person that I listen to the most, but I've listened to all of them, and I do listen to all of them. And at some point in their message, whether it's Tony Robbins or Les Brown or Grant Cardone or it's the book Think and Grow Rich, they will say something to the effect of, the only thing stopping you from the life that you want and the life that you're currently experiencing is the story that you're telling yourself. Another way that they will language that is, the only thing stopping you is to make a decision, or the only thing stopping you is to raise your standards, or the only thing stopping you is to choose to control your own life instead of being controlled by somebody else's. That whole language process all stands for the same thing. So what's the story that Bolt is still telling himself? He's still telling himself he's worried about being left. He's worried about getting lost, and he's worried about being left. He wants to go in the same patterns because he knows, if I go down this hall and I turn this way and turn this way, there's a kennel where I'm safe. And we're going to keep that, right? We're not going to interrupt that pattern. We always take him on walks on the same way. Now we keep adding, as after we do the walk that he's used to, then we take him a little bit further and a little bit further and a little bit further. And then we'll take him somewhere else in the house and then take him back. We keep adding, but we let him have that same security. And he's still telling himself that story that I don't want to be lost. What story are you telling yourself that's stopping you from achieving what it is that you want? Whether it's the goal weight that you want, whether it's the relationship that you want, whether it's financial freedom, whatever it is, what's stopping you is the story you keep telling yourself. Tony Robbins says, divorce your story and you'll change your life. Another way that he'll language it is, there's no victims, only volunteers. Tony's kind of direct with his coaching. But Grant Cardone says the same thing. The only thing between you and what you want is that you haven't gone and gotten it, which means make a decision. It's the same message. So what's the story? I'm not old enough. I'm too old. I'm not young enough. I don't have enough education. I have too much education, so I have too much debt. I went into the wrong field. I got into the wrong relationship. I'm in the wrong location. What is it? Whatever it is, that story is what's stopping you from achieving your outcomes. Why is it that an immigrant is 10 times more likely to become a millionaire than somebody who was born in this country? Well, part of it is initiative, but that initiative breaks them out of that story. They don't have a story about, I'm not good enough, because their point of reference is where they came from, which was so bad that they were willing to leave everything, family, security, everything, in order to risk their lives many times to get to this country, if you're listening to this in the United States. Or maybe it's Australia, or maybe it's Spain. So once they get there, they don't have a story of, I'm not enough. All they see is abundance. And as a result, they're a lot more driven. And that's why an immigrant in the United States is 10 times more likely to become a millionaire than somebody born in this country. It's not because of resources. Whatever it is that you want to achieve that you haven't yet figured out how to achieve, it's never a resource. It's always resourcefulness. And we'll talk about resources, right? We're great at doing this with regards to losing weight. When I get these shoes, when I get this treadmill, when I get this system, then I'll be able to lose the weight. The reality is anybody can lose weight. It's whether or not you make a decision that you're going to do that. When you finally decide enough is enough and I'm going to make this progress. That's why frustration is such a great thing. Remember, if you're confused, you're going to learn something. If you're frustrated, you're going to have a breakthrough. When you get confused, welcome it, because that means you're going to make a new distinction. You're going to learn something. And when you get frustrated, welcome that too, because out of frustration is what comes decisions. We learn so much more from our failures than we do from our successes. And when things don't go well, that's when it drives us to really break through that story and become the next level of ourselves that we were meant to be. If you all of a sudden knew that you only had a year left, you had 1 year left from today, from this moment, you had 1 year, and that was it. Then you were done. What would you do? Would you do the same thing you're doing today? If the answer is no, then maybe you're not doing the right thing. Would you worry about the things that you probably are going to spend the next year worrying about? My hallucination is no. Your focus would change completely. Would you go do the things that you always wanted to do? My hallucination again is, yeah, you would. You'd figure out how to make it happen. You wouldn't worry about whether or not it was going to work out or not. You just would decide. And that's the true power. Why I resonate so much with Tony Robbins' teaching is because that's what it really comes down to, is to make a decision. Then figure out how the hell you're going to do it, because that's really the success formula that works, is to commit and then figure it out. Once you commit, now you have to figure it out. When Cortez made it to the new country, he burned his ships so that his men were highly motivated. He understood that you got to commit. So whatever it is that you've wanted to have happen in your life for all of this time, there's always something you've wanted for years and years and years, and you've never gotten there. It's the story that you're telling yourself. I'm not enough, and because I'm not enough, I won't be loved, and so therefore I'm afraid, and so I'm not going to take the steps. When you finally commit that this is it, I'm going to create this outcome, this is going to happen, it's over now, all of a sudden the seas will part and the ways to do it will start to appear before you. When the student is ready, the master will show. And that's how it works. And it sounds mystical and crazy, but it's really not mystical and crazy. It's the way our brain operates. When you keep telling yourself a story, your brain doesn't look for solutions. It looks for problems. It looks for obstacles. And we're great at doing that. We are great at finding obstacles and reasons why it can't work. One of my favorite questions when I'm coaching is, okay, give me at least one way where it could work. Sometimes I have to stop and go, you wanted to talk about this and you said you wanted this outcome, and all you want to do is tell me reasons why it's not going to work. Tell me one reason why it can. Tell me one way that maybe it could happen. Maybe. You got to shift your focus, and the way that we do that is to divorce our story. So as you head out on Monday, stop telling yourself the story that you've always told yourself with regards to that one thing that you've always wanted to do in your life, that you've always wanted to create, that outcome that you've always wanted to have, whatever it is. You're not too old, you're not too young, you don't have too little education, you don't have too much education. It's not that you don't have the right connections, it's not that you don't have the right resources. It's never a lack of resource. It's a lack of resourcefulness. Make a decision that you're going to create that result and set a timeline. A goal is a dream with a deadline. Set a timeline of when you're going to accomplish that outcome and make that decision and start heading towards it. And today is the day to start. When would now be a good time? How many cliches can I throw in one morning session? Good morning, everybody. Valerie, great to see you. Mr. Drehobel down in Florida, hope all is well. My great uncle Bill, great to see you, brother. We got to get that thing up down on my building one of these days. Mr. Dakin, so great to talk to you. Mr. Chesney, Senator, thank you so much for hopping on. And Brandon, my neighbor, great to see you guys. I'm truly honored when people hop on and take the time to watch. I truly am. Have a great day. We're all in this together. Let's take care of each other.